Hi there guys, Tom Quayle here. Hope you're all doing very well out there as ever. Today is a very exciting day for me because I can announce a project I've been working on for the past few months. This is my brand new app, Metric Flow. This is a rhythm vocabulary generator. It's really powerful and it's something I've wanted to exist for a long time. Effectively, bottom line, it generates rhythms for you to play, single bar rhythms in different time signatures. But it's so much more than that as well in terms of the power that it gives you to manipulate those rhythms once they've been generated. So effectively, it's a really simple layout. At the top here, you can select your time signature. At the moment, we've got 4/4 selected, but there are a whole bunch of standard, common, and odd time signatures in there. And even time signatures where you can superimpose other time signatures over 4/4 in order to generate kind of polymetric rhythms that sort of go over the bar line as you kind of use them improvisationally. The idea is you select your time signature. I will select 4/4 here, and then it generates rhythms for you. And you can just continuously tap the generate rhythm button to generate new rhythmic information. Now, the really cool thing about this is you'll see this interesting view down here. You don't need to be able to read music in order to use Metric Flow. So the idea is, this is what I'm calling the dot timeline view. And each of these dots represents a single 16th note subdivision. So the app is based on 16th notes at this stage. Now in the future, I might add triplets and non-kind of even note values in there. But at the moment, it's based on 16th notes because it gives us some power that we can use in terms of manipulating those rhythms later on. And also, it's very simple visually to understand, but will generate a sea of different rhythms, an almost endless variation for you to practice with. And that's the point, is to develop that rhythmic vocabulary. So at the moment, what you can see is this rhythm that we've generated contains a bunch of these dots grouped together. And they're really easy to interpret. So if I keep generating rhythms, you can see each of these different dot groupings have different colors and different numbers of dots within them. So the ones that are empty arrests, the ones that are lit up with dots that are colored in, are actual notes. So for example, if I play back this rhythm, you can see this first grouping here has 4 16th notes in it, so that would be equivalent to a quarter note. We then have 2 individual 16th notes. Hello, my dog has decided to come and say hello. We then have a 16th note rest, and then 2 16th notes grouped together into an 8th note, for example. Now, you don't actually need to be able to interpret any of this. You just need to watch as the dot timeline animates through each of these 16th notes, a little bit like a karaoke ball, and listen and internalize the rhythm before you improvise with it. And hopefully by improvising with these rhythms, you will develop to the point where they become part of your rhythmic vocabulary when you improvise. And there's a lot of power as to how, as I say, we can manipulate these rhythms, play with them, move them around in the bar, generate new rhythms, as it were. So if I just play back this rhythm, it'll animate through this rhythm, and then underneath you can see this beat counter, and that represents where our beats are, in this case, because it's 4/4, beat 1, 2, 3, and 4, whilst the rhythm is playing back, and these two things animate together. So let me play back the rhythm and you will see what I mean. So I'm going to hit play here, and we get this. There you go, really cool rhythm. And you can see the animation happening on the beat counter to show you where the beats are, and also the animation happening to show you where in the timeline view you are rhythmically. And again, I would get that rhythm into my ears and then I would try and play it. Now again, we can slow this down a little bit further. It's a little tricky to use the phone at this angle. The other thing you'll notice, you will see where the downbeats are within the rhythmic structure. So you can see these numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That shows you where those downbeats are within this particular rhythm, so that you can analyze and look, okay, well, I know that beat 1 is there, I know that beat 2 is on that 16th note rest, I know that beat 3 here happens on the last 16th note of this 8th note, sorry, and I know that beat 4 happens just there, and you can visually analyze what's going on. It's very intuitive to see without needing to read music. So once I've got that rhythm in my head, if I play it back, you can hear we've got an unpitched sound. That's intentional. We can change that later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a note and I'm going to try and get that rhythm out in my playing. So I'd first of all listen. Down, da, 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 ba, down, da. Now what I'm trying to do on that single note is I'm trying to match the lengths of those notes and the rests perfectly. When I can do that on a single note, I might, for instance, then try and play 2 notes or a scale. And then when I'm comfortable with that, I might try and actually improvise with that rhythm and try and really accurately recreate it. So let's listen again. Da 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 da. Down da 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 da. Now, one thing I noticed when I was improvising is that I was shortening this eighth note a little bit too much. And that's the kind of thing that you can really pay attention to when you're listening back to the rhythm as opposed to reading it off a page, which is super, super powerful. Now, once I've generated a rhythm like this, I can now manipulate that rhythm. So there is a little blue arrow just underneath the generate rhythm button that allows you to push the rhythm forwards by a 16th note each time within the bar. So effectively every single note value will be 1/16th note forwards. And this allows you to generate some really cool, interesting, often quite difficult rhythms to play and really increase your rhythmic vocabulary. So each time I press that button, which is tricky when I'm on camera here, it's moved now, that rhythm. You can see we've got a 16th note rest at the beginning because that was at the end. If I keep moving it forwards, we've now got 2 16th note rests, so on and so forth. Now we're going to get this 16th note here is going to go to the beginning, as long as I tap it correctly, so on and so forth. Now what's going to happen next is kind of interesting because this note here, it contains 3 16th notes, okay? It's a little bit like a dotted 8th note in a way. What we can do is if I move this note forward by 1/16th note, it will cross over the bar line and come back to the beginning of the bar. So if I press this blue arrow here, now you can see that this has been split over the end of the bar and back to the beginning. And we've got this tie symbol that shows us that it's going over the bar line. So what metric flow will do now is it will start playback from this note as if it was before the beat 1, and it will then cycle the rhythm round with a note tied over the bar line. So this is super cool if you're learning to play over changes and you want to phrase over the bar line, or if you want more interesting rhythms that don't always start on beat 1, they go over the bar line. You can do this, you can set this up within the app. So now if I play this rhythm back, playback will start from this rhythm at the appropriate place within the bar and then we'll cycle round. So you'll see, you can see it's waiting. Da 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 da. And you can see the numbers, the downbeats, still reflect exactly what's happening with the rhythmic setup. Da 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 da. So pushing the note forward, or the rhythm forward by 1/16th note, is the first way we can manipulate the rhythm. If we tap on the rhythm itself, so let's generate a new rhythm. Okay, in this case, if we tap on the rhythm itself, it's going to cycle each of the rhythmic values into the beginning of the bar. So it's going to cycle the rhythm round effectively, but based on the particular groupings that we've got. So for example, if I tap on the rhythm now, this rest at the end is going to move to the beginning. Okay, if I tap again, this long note here, which is actually a half note in standard notation, is going to move to the beginning. Then we're going to move this note to the beginning. So you can see all of the notes are cycling around as we, okay? So we're cycling the rhythm based on its existing note values as opposed to pushing it a 16th note forward in the bar. So at the moment we've got this. You always hear the counting at the beginning. Let's cycle it round so we get that 16th note at the beginning. Now we've got this rhythm. It's the same groupings, but so lots of fun manipulating those rhythms basically. And again, we can come in and we can play that at a different speed. Really, really useful. And again, you just keep generating more and more rhythmic vocabulary. Okay, here we've got this. This is an interesting rhythm. Now, when you found a rhythm that you like, you can save it by tapping the heart icon just here. And now that's saved within our favorites, and you can access all of your favorites from the favorites tab here. I've saved loads of different rhythms. You can load them up just by tapping on them. And again, you've got all of the access to manipulate those. So once it's saved, I could cycle it round just by tapping on the rhythm itself. Again, keep cycling. You can see this quarter note moving forwards in the bar. Okay, and you can see all of those downbeats are automatically moving into their relevant positions, so you can see how the rhythm breaks down visually without needing to read notation, which is really, really nice. Okay, now there's a few other ways that we can generate rhythms and manipulate them. First is, if I just bring the tempo down, we also have access to 16th note swing. Okay, so when I play back the rhythm now, we get this. Like an old drum machine, basically. Okay, let's select a different time signature. So we can generate rhythms in, say, 5/8, for example. You can see all the downbeats written there. You can generate rhythms in 3/4 or 5/4, some of these odd time signatures, and listen back to them. And the beat counter will update underneath to represent that particular time signature. So here we've got a 5/4 rhythm. And again, you can manipulate those in exactly the way you'd expect, as we've shown before. If you tap on the time signature and you select one of these lower time signatures down here, the polymetric ones, these are going to superimpose one time signature over 4/4. So it might be 5/8 over 4/4, 7/8 over 4/4, or 5/16 over 4/4. So if we select 5/8 over 4/4, this has now generated a 5/8 rhythm, but you can see the beat counter underneath is not in 5/8, it's in 4/4. And it's going to play this rhythm over 4/4 so that you get this cool, what I term hemiolas, which is superimposed 5/8 rhythms over 4/4, so they cross over the bar line, which is really cool. And it's going to update the beats here, the downbeat visually, to match what's happening rhythmically. So if I play this through, it's going to cycle it round and you'll see the numbers update in real time to show you where beat 1 is and each of the other beats in relation to the 5/8. So here's our 5/8 rhythm. And you can see the numbers updating on the screen, so you can see where each of the beats is. Okay, that's super cool. So again, we could generate a new rhythm. Let's do this one. And you'll see the numbers update again. And over that 4/4 structure with that 5/8 rhythm, you can still do all of your manipulation. So we can cycle the rhythm round, just as we're doing here, or you can push it forwards in the bar by a 16th note, just as you did before. So now we've got this rhythm, which is going to be quite difficult to play, quite complicated. So in terms of creative rhythmic vocabulary, getting more advanced, like Wayne Krantz kind of territory, this is super cool. And again, we could go in and say, all right, well, let's generate a 7/16 rhythm over 4/4. This has got a bunch of rests in it as well. Now we've got this. Let's speed this up. There's our 4/4. What a cool rhythm. And you can see it animating, and you can see where each of the subdivisions is, or not subdivisions, sorry, the downbeats. Again, you could favorite that, and then, that might be a cool rhythm that you might want to work on in 2 weeks' time, and you've still got it saved for that practice session, which is great, really, really cool. Now, As well as that, you've got some ability to tailor how these rhythms are generated. So you can switch elements on and off. So here you can switch rests on and off. You can switch off dotted note values. You can switch on and off more unusual note values. So things with like, say, 5/16 notes in or 9/16 notes, for example. Maybe that would be a less kind of standard rhythmic value. You can turn those off. You can also turn on or off 16th notes. I can't at the moment because I'm in a 16 time signature. If I go back and I select 4/4 and come over here, now I can turn on or off 16th notes and choose the amount of syncopation that I've got. Now at any point, because you can push the rhythm by 16th notes, you can generate more syncopation anyway. But if you've got it set from low to high, that will allow the app to generate more or less syncopation randomly. There's a whole bunch of sound options in here as well. The other thing I want to mention is, at the moment, we're using this unpitched ride cymbal sound, which is sampled from an analog synthesizer. So it's like a noise-based ride cymbal. And that gives us no pitch information, which means we can play anywhere and not have to worry about the pitch. If you want to, you can select one of these other three sounds and have pitched sounds that will allow you to have some harmonic reference point. So if we select synth 3, for example, here, we can choose the note that we want the pitch to play. So I'm going to choose, in this case, we've got this B. I'm going to go down to A. And we can turn on a background drone that will synthesize just whatever note we've selected here, a low octave version of that pitch for a drone, and it will play the rhythm back in that way. So there's a quick tip here that says this is not really something you want to do on the phone because you might not be able to hear it, but the way we're playing at the moment, we'll be able to hear it. So I can come in here and I can say, okay, now I'm going to generate a rhythm in 4/4. Let's have one that's got more sustain in it. Keep generating until we get something. There we go. Now it's going to play this rhythm back pitched at A with a drone as well. So we get this. There's your drone. Now I can create a harmonic context. Let's say A Lydian. Taking this to the next level, you can actually export your rhythms using the export button. Okay, now what this will do is it will generate one perfect loop at the tempo that you have selected here. So if we hit export, at the moment we're in 4/4, we've generated this rhythm. If we hit export, it's going to say export one cycle as a WAV or as an AAC, which is an M4A file, if you need to save space. Now, when I hit export, what's going to happen is it's going to allow me to send this file via AirDrop to my Mac or wherever, and I will get a file. And that file will have the tempo information, it will have the time signature, and it will show me when I save that file as well. I'll show you one of those files shortly. When we've got that file, we can then have that single cycle of the rhythm and import it into Logic or Cubase or Studio One or Reaper or whatever it is that you use, Fruity Loops, whatever. Now, the reason this is useful is you can then put that in your DAW. It's beautifully tempo matched, a perfect loop, and then you can loop it round and you can play it over drum grooves. You can play it over backing tracks. You can have it play and then you can improvise over that rhythm, and you could learn to phrase over chord changes. You could learn to phrase through a particular backing track. If you're working on a particular song, you could learn to phrase with that rhythm over that song. So let's do that now. Okay, so I've got Metric Flow loaded up here. This is the iPad version running natively on Mac. You can see here, I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see what's happening. And I've generated a rhythm here. You could do this on the iPhone or on the iPad. It'll be exactly the same process. This is in 4/4 and I'm at 96 BPM and I'm going to export this rhythm. It sounds like this. Here's the count in. Okay, very simple rhythm. I'm going to export it as a WAV file and I'm going to do that to the desktop. So I'm going to save it here. And you can see the file name is Metric Flow. There's the time signature 4/4, the BPM, and then the time and date that it was saved. Okay, so we'll save this to the desktop. And then I'm going to come into Logic here and I'm going to create an audio track. I'm going to make sure my tempo is set the same, 96 BPM in this case. If it wasn't, I'd need to adjust that. And I'm going to come over to the desktop and I'm going to import this file. And you can see straight away that it's a perfect loop at that tempo. So if I loop this round by pressing L, it's going to loop beautifully. So no matter where I go in the track, it loops brilliantly within the DAW, and that will happen at any tempo that you set within Metric Flow. Now, the really nice thing here is if I come into Logic and set Flex and Flow to on, and then down here under the track menu, select the mode Rhythmic. Now when I increase the tempo or decrease the tempo, Logic's going to do a really good job of actually matching the tempo that I set in here, which is really nice. Now, the cool thing, if we set this back to 96 BPM, now that we've got this rhythm perfectly looping within our DAW, is I can do other things. So I could say, okay, well, let's create a drummer track, and let's do funk rock here, and Logic will create a drum groove that I can play over, and my original rhythm that I've got from Metric Flow will play above this drum track, perfectly synchronized, because I've set the tempo here. So now I can improvise. When I change the tempo, if I set this a little bit higher, you can see Logic thinking in the background. Let's jam over that. So on and so forth. So that's really, really powerful. Now you could do this with a backing track as well. If you've got a backing track that has the tempo within it, you could then import that into a particular backing track into Logic and do exactly the same thing. And again, this process will work within Studio One, within Cubase, within Reaper, whatever DAW you use. Now if I delete that and go back to Metric Flow, another really cool thing I can do is I can import, let's say, a 5/8 over 4/4 rhythm. So we've got this rhythm. Now you can see these numbers, the number of repetitions it takes to come round so that it's on beat 1 again. I can't remember exactly how many, but there it's on beat 1 again, just here. Okay, so that's really important. Now, what that means is that when we export this now, instead of exporting a single cycle, as I've mentioned in the video, of this particular rhythm, what it's going to do, again, you can see the name, the time signature, 5/8 over 4/4, the BPM, and the time and date it was saved. Let's save that to the desktop. Now, when I import that into Logic, so there it is, okay, if I just drag it in, you can see after 6 bars, or after 5 bars, which is what I've mentioned in the video, this actually is back on beat 1 again. So it's done the exact number of repetitions of this loop, so that beat 1 is the beginning of the rhythm again. So now when we play this back, again, let's turn on Flex and Follow. Let's set it to Rhythmic, which it already is. And then we can loop this round, and you'll hear this 5/8 rhythm beautifully cycling within 4/4 at 96 BPM within Logic. And you'll notice when we come back round again with the loop, it's going to be back on beat 1. 1. So that's a really nice feature of the polymetric time signatures, that you can actually do that. And again, if we increase the tempo, and let's add in another drum groove, so we'll create a region, let's put it back at the beginning, and we'll loop that round as well. Now you'll hear this really cool 5/8 rhythm being represented over 4/4 with this really good rhythmic context of having a drum groove. The only other thing I want to show you is if we go back to Metric Flow and start to create some interesting time signatures. So let's create a rhythm in 7/8, for example. We could export that rhythm in 7/8, create a bar of 7/8 within Logic. Let's now create a bar of 11/8, export that. These are completely randomly generated, obviously. Okay, save it to the desktop. And then let's do a bar of 5/8. Let's create a slightly more interesting rhythm, there we go, and export that. Now, in terms of writing riffs, if you want some inspiration to start, we've now got, again, with the click on, there's our 11, now a bar of 7, and a bar of 5. Now you could create a riff based around that rhythm. it's so easy just to create these inspirational rhythmic grooves that you can then start writing with as well, which is super, super cool. So there we go, guys. That is Metric Flow, my brand new powerful rhythmic vocabulary generator app, available now for iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Hope you guys enjoy it. Check it out in the App Store. You'll find the link down below. It's really, really affordable, and you should find it a fantastic practice tool. As usual, click down below. You'll find all the links to all my lesson material, as well as Metric Flow and my app solo as well, and my ultimate fretboard visualization course, amongst all the other good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you all in the next video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.